You know what? Everybody has trouble with that.
And we're on.
We are indeed.
Hey, everyone.
Good evening, everybody.
Oh, guess who's
Good
on?
evening.
Good evening.
I can't see. I haven't got, for some reason, I haven't got.
Good afternoon for us over here on the left.
Yeah. It's still
Mine
starting
is-
out. So if somebody wants
Have
to
you
say
guys
what's
got
going
the,
on.
have you guys got the chat up?
My
I
net
do.
is there. I ain't got chat as such, but I can see when comments come up. Yeah, net is there.
Hi,
Rita's
Rita.
there.
Hey, Rita.
Have you got that woman locked down in the kitchen again, Eric?
No, she's in the bedroom.
Shame on you, young man.
He doesn't cook.
Oh, that's fighting.
Ooh.
That's fighting
He
top where I
doesn't.
came from, but
He said,
luckily I moved.
"Hey, yeah. Do you cook?"
You've got the pleasure. You've got the pleasure of her delightful company. She doesn't need to be able to cook. That's fair enough. That's all right. It does the job. So are you guys all right tonight? How are you? Let me go around the thing. Eric, how are you?
I'm great.
Good,
Hey,
good,
Noreen.
good. You been up to anything exciting this week?
No.
Hi,
Not
Nettie.
really.
Hi, Noreen.
I'm making more REM pods.
Man, you must have loads of it coming out of your ears.
Wow. I got two, one here.
Don't worry, Noreen. I've accepted it. Thank you.
One
So
there.
that'll be great.
One there. I did the skull one again.
Yeah, I saw you. You put that on the Facebook last week. That's pretty cool.
I got one of them right there.
Yeah, I've got mine out. They're really cool, aren't they? Look good, don't they? Brian,
Right
how are
down
you?
to-
Still out of pod.
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good.
Have you been up to anything exciting? I know you go out and you do your round robins, looking at some various things and stuff. Have you been doing anything exciting? Are you, Nico?
I've managed couple of weeks since to get in one particular day. It's a record breaker. I managed to get 9 churches in one day.
That's pretty cool.
Ain't it just? I'm still posting them, so you know.
Bloody hell,
Well,
that must have been a busy day.
It was
Right.
very busy. Very
Right, when
busy.
I get there, we're gonna break that record.
Right. That's not the problem.
Eric's got millions of things he needs to see.
Exactly.
And stuff he doesn't know yet, but we're going to
Just
surprise
sent
him
him,
with.
just sent him a castle for sale.
Yeah.
So
That's cool.
you
That's
never
cool.
know.
That's cool. So, Josh, oh, good. He says it was a brilliant day. Good. Josh, how are you, buddy?
I'm all right. I'm doing good. You know, I'm alive. That's you heard me in America right now. You know, prayers for everybody in Florida right now. So
Yes. Yeah, it's a bit worrying, that, isn't it? I've been following the map on
Yeah.
that. It's a couple of people that look on that come on here. They seem to be smack bang in the middle of it. And you think, geez.
Yeah.
yeah, it's
You know?
bad.
terrifying looking thing. But yeah, please God that it passes by and nobody, well, very few
Right.
people, if any, get hurt.
Yeah.
So that would be a wonderful thing.
We
But
don't
yeah,
get
so that's
anything
good.
like that. We
So
don't get
Brian,
anything like that. But what we have got, unusually, is tornadoes. We've got a few tornadoes.
yes, yeah, they seem to be getting more of a foothold over here as well recently, don't they?
Exactly. We know what it
Yeah.
is, but we can't speak about it, so we won't.
No,
Not on
exactly.
air, not on air anyway.
We're not allowed to.
No.
We're forbade.
That's politics.
So as you can see tonight, we're actually going through the Things Network. So that's where we are this evening. You can see it up there with that lovely little sign up there in the right hand corner or left hand corner, depending on where you're looking at it. And this evening we're talking about, Brian, what are we talking about this evening? You did tell me, and I do remember, but I'd like you to tell it if that's all right.
We are talking tonight about Irish folklore. So
Irish
that
folklore,
will be
loads of it.
giants, selkies, banshee, and the like.
That's it. Not forgetting the old tried and tested leprechaun.
Of course, yeah. They're the original little people. Yep.
Where's my Lucky Charms? All that sort of stuff, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
I should have worn my shirt. Dang it. Forgot all about that.
Yeah. End of the rainbow. Chase the end of the rainbow. And
It is chasing the end of the rainbow.
Yeah.
It is indeed.
Fight the leprechaun for the pot of gold.
That's it, yeah. Try and outdo him, but you never will because they're tricky little fellas and leprechauns.
Exactly, yes. There's always a riddle.
Always a riddle.
Hi, Jenny.
Hi, Jenny. Hey, there you go, Jenny from the beautiful Emerald Isle. So I've got a bit of a vested interest in this because I'm into the Fae big time. You guys watch me or watch us, you know that I'm into it really, really big time, and I completely and fully believe in them. And another thing is I'm Irish, so yes, well, my parents were, so I'm second generation or first generation. No, it's weird, it's odd, but anyway, I'm a paddy. So I've obviously got a vested interest in that as well. And Ireland is probably renowned for being the most esoteric in the way of members of the Fae and stuff, but also, you know, in Scotland as well, and places like Cornwall and that, because there's a strong Celtic heritage there, same as Wales and you know, various places like that. So I was brought up on a diet of stories of the Fae, and even though my parents were brought up as, well, my dad's, it's weird. Dad's his father was Church of Ireland, but his mother was Catholic, so he was brought up Catholic, and my mother was brought up Catholic, but then her parents were Church of. It's weird. It's just weird. But anyway, they were brought up under Catholicism, and the thing is that they always kept this respectable veneer of Catholicism on top. But if you scratched ever so little on top of that veneer, you'd soon get down to where they were pagans, basically. I think they were pagan. The essence of them was pagan. So even though they were cloaked in this form of Catholicism, this idea of Catholicism, it wasn't that far below the surface that they were Celtic pagans, really. And I remember my mother and father talking about, my mother not so much, but I remember my father talking about these things. Now, bear in mind, he was a soldier for 15 years, so he was a pretty tough, no-nonsense guy. But he was ardent in his belief that these things existed, you know, from experience that his family had over the years. And my mum was, but she was a little bit reluctant to talk about it. But when she talked about it, she would talk about things like the Banshee. And she would tell me that there were certain families in Ireland that the Banshee would follow and that, but lots of people unrelated to them had experiences with him. And I think they heard the Banshee or something one night, and then somebody up the top of the village where she lived had passed away. So things like that. So it's always been vested. So what about you guys?
From my research, I've found that many of these old world religions, as we can call them now, religions, they were bound in mystery and intrigue and foreboding spirits and entities for the simple reason they use them as a warding off, as to get people not to do something because there would be a consequence. That's the origins.
That's it, Jenny. Thank you, Jenny.
Yeah, when we're talking about how can I put it, the Celtic realm, it covered a lot of countries, and there's very few of them that still got that heritage. Now, Ireland in the British Isles is the one that's got them all, and they still live by it. They still believe in things. We have re-established that belief because of them, i.e. the leprechauns, the banshees. They're coming back into the fore. There is only odd one or two that have kept their what can we call it, the mysticism and the intrigue and their identity, their original identity, because a lot of them have totally changed. Like we touched on with your series of the Fae, that originally they were not nice things.
No.
And then in the 17th and 18th century, when Victorians came in, they tried to turn that round, and they became nice things and nice entities. That's not how they were written and portrayed originally.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, you've got to dig deep to find.
Do you know what it reminds me of? The connection reminds me very much of the Old Testament, which was blood and thunder, and a God that was unforgiving and that would hold you to the utmost of being decent. Whereas the New Testament is more of a fluffy God who's ever loving, bit laid back on your approach to life, but wants you to accept certain rules, but he's okay with it. And that reminds me of the Fae. Like you say, originally these things were terrifying. Don't deal with them. And my parents always used to say to me, you know, my dad really, but if you ever get into contact with one, don't ever deal with it. Don't talk to it. Don't acknowledge it. Don't go near it. Avoid it if you can, because you're always going to come off worse off. Which is just because they're very intelligent, clever creatures, you know, or spirits. So so it reminds me of that. It reminds me of sort of the Old Testament, New Testament, where the original one was, you know, not really digestible because people were terrified of it. So they had to come along with a fluffy idea. And Disney, I think, didn't help, did it, when they started drawing them and stuff as little wonderful little creatures that were loving and that. And even now, a lot of these people that study them and spend a lot of time going out in the field and trying to research them, they will tell you, just try not to deal with them. Try not to have any dealings with them, because you will come off arse end up.
Yeah, well, I mean, Selkie, that's a perfect example, because the Selkie is being turned from a coastline spirit to mermaid. That's where the modern connection is. It's mermaid, whereas originally it was a seal. It was a seal that transformed because it was a fairy folk, version of a seal. The lines get blurred, don't they? But originally, that was a entity that warned you not to go on shore because there was a storm coming or there was an impending death, just like the land-based one, which is the Banshee. The wailing witch. They state that if you hear a wailing witch, there will be a death in the family. Not so now, but these are the original ideas of them. Now, they're more romanticized, and people have fell in love with these creatures. So they're now portrayed as not a hag. A banshee is not necessarily a hag. She can be a beautiful creature.
And that's the thing. I think people have it's a lot of the modern stuff is very misleading, isn't it? I mean, I've seen people that have said that they've had experiences with these things, that they've had first-hand experiences with them, and they've come away genuinely terrified. They've come away terrified. Not having any dealings with them, but just seeing them was enough to terrify them. And they
it's the problem when you let Disney own everything.
Let Disney own everything. They'll try and make everything nice and soft and nice and delightful and that.
They're good at that. I mean, if you think about it, everything of theirs is really so much of that old school German, you know.
Yeah,
Bills too, or they weren't good.
it's true. It's true. It's true. It's amazing. Even Germany, when I used to go to Germany quite a lot, you know, their folklore and their heritage, and I mean, they've got a strong heritage regarding trolls and stuff like that up in the Black Forest and the mountains. And they never portrayed them as fluffy. They portrayed them as you don't want any dealings with these creatures.
Right.
You know?
The cults that stand out is your Vikings with Thor and one thing and another. There is cultures that stand out with certain endearing characters.
Yeah.
But as I say, in the whole, there's quite a lot in Ireland, unlike the rest of the Celtic nations. There's so many. I actually did some research, and I've got them written down.
Oh, good lad, Brian. Do like a man who does research. It's good.
Yeah. The slightly lesser known, I wouldn't know how to pronounce them, so forgive me pronunciation, but the Arbatach, which is a vampire.
Oh,
See, I didn't realise that Ireland would have a vampiric.
That's the first I've heard of that one. Never heard of that one. That's an interesting one.
Exactly, but they have. And it was apparently similar to the story of Vlad, whereas he was a chieftain that rose from the ranks, and he defeated quite a few of these other cult folklore entities. But in death, he vowed to carry on his reign and became a vampire, which is surprising, isn't it?
But it is. It's the vampire thing always weirds me out a bit, because obviously when you grow up, we all grew up with the Hammer House of Horror and Hollywood films and stuff. You know, Lon Chaney and stuff, whipping around, pretending to be vampires and drinking the blood of. But it turns out that when you look, I didn't realise that these were genuinely folkloric things.
Right. I mean, every culture's got them.
Yeah. In India, apparently, they're quite renowned. They're very well documented that there's vampirism going on in India. And you think to yourself, I can believe all these ancient cultures, they've all got remnants of it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But again, you start to see documentation as the population starts to read and write.
Yeah.
In Europe, the written word vampire appeared in the 1700s. Before
really?
That, it was known as something else. There was something there, but it wasn't actually known as a vampire. There's a few different names for it preceding that, but the word vampire is the one that caught hold because of. Yeah, they do. Just a bit. It's not strictly true that. But there's an interesting little bit for you, Dan. When the film Dracula was,
I know what you're going to say.
but the written word, when it came around, it was taken from a previous play by Lord Byron. And he called the actual word vampire spelt with a Y.
Okay.
Which was quickly changed and became vampire. See, I'm full of useless information.
That's good information. It's what we get shows out of. It's good information. But that's interesting. So was that with Vampyre?
Yeah, but I did a lot of research for a show that we did, me and Nettie and Ian, and it is surprising the idea that these entities sucked blood in a way that they do in modern films and everything like that actually was born out when, get this, again, research. At the time of the discovery of the vampire bat, that is when
the whole sucking thing came.
Well, the idea that a vampire could transform to a bat was born because of the vampire bat.
Vampire bat connected the two.
Yeah.
See, that's quite interesting.
Before that, the written accounts were that when this creature, this vampire, transformed, it transformed into something more resembling a dragon.
Oh, wow.
with duck features. It was only when the introduction of the vampire bat that was born
They
out. That a
changed it over.
vampire turned into a bat. Yeah. So
I mean, wasn't that
Amazing, isn't it?
Vlad's title? Didn't his people like refer to him as the dragon?
yeah.
Yeah, his name was Draco, wasn't it? The dragon, yeah.
Yeah.
Because on his
Exactly,
breastplate, he
yeah.
used to have the dragon, didn't he? On it,
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
breastplate.
Dragon.
But there's
Exactly.
the one that interests me as well. And I mean, I used to, when I was reading up about werewolves and stuff, never even knew it. And they were saying places like South America, they've got were-jaguars. And other parts of the world, they've got particular animals that are predators there. But
Yeah.
they call them were, which
Yeah.
obviously were is an old English word that means man. So you've
Yeah.
got werewolf is man-wolf.
There's apparently even like were sharks in
Yeah,
Hawaii.
yeah.
There's like a
It's-
whole big culture about it, and
Yeah.
like
Yeah, and when I found that out, I read about it. I thought, amazing. It does make me realise that this world is smaller than we think it is, and that people have been connected geographically. They might be thousands of miles apart, but at some point they were closer connected to each other, because they're finding stuff over here now. They turned around and said they found something a couple of years ago now. This pot that they found, they said, well, this pot shouldn't be here. It comes from, I can't think where it came from. It comes round the other side of the planet. And they said, but it's been there clearly since the time of these. I think it was found amongst some Roman pottery. And they said, but it's been there since the time of the Romans. So there's been more connection to the world than we even give it credit for, than we think. See, well, I think we go on this idea that if it's old, it's ignorant. And if it's old, it's outdated. And that's not the case. We're finding out now that we're the ignorant ones, because with the advent of things like science and the last 50, 60 years, we're throwing everything else out the pram and saying, oh, well, this has got to be it. This is a new thing. This is the truth.
There's a
The rest of it's
marsupial.
rubbish.
Well, exactly. I mean,
Marsupial, well, yeah.
Yeah, look at what they made out of duck-billed platypus, for example. They thought
Amazing.
that
Australia's
that
got
was a
some
foot
phenomenal
show.
creatures.
But
It's true, though.
that leads me into the next one, the pucker,
Thank you.
which is the,
The polka,
Irish,
yes.
which is the Irish shapeshifters.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
But they actually bring good luck.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's a twist on it. So
don't they have their own version of a werewolf too, called like the Fianna?
Yeah.
Probably. They've got. I know the thing about the polka was that was the Jimmy Stewart film, wasn't it? When he had the rabbit, the 6-foot rabbit. You ever seen that? You guys ever seen it? Oh man, you got to see it.
I have to check it out.
You got to watch it. It's superb. They all think he's mental, but he's got a 6-foot rabbit who's his mate, and nobody can see it but him.
Oh yeah.
Right, Lorna? And all of a sudden, it turns out that when he leaves colt, the rabbit opens the doors for him.
Yeah,
But they can't see it. But it's a polka.
Yeah, that's the the hallucination side, isn't it? You know, yeah.
Yeah,
So
they
we
all
see
think he's
it-
gone mad now, but he's not. He's
Yeah.
complete. He's the most sane one out of all of them. But he's
Yeah.
a gentle soul. So obviously the fairy or the fae, the polka, likes him because he is a gentle soul and he's innocent. So he decides to hook up with him. Mind you, Jimmy Stewart's my hero anyway, so I'm always going to promote Jimmy Stewart films.
And did you know that the Irish also have a folklore of the headless horseman?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yep.
yeah.
The Dallahan headless horseman, and that's another one that gives an omen of death. If you see this thing, then it's not someone in the family; it will be you. You are unfortunately the one that's going to cop for it. Then there's the Morrigan.
Yeah, the Morrigan, yeah.
The Phantom Queen.
Yeah. I
Tells
just saw
of
that.
Yeah, the Morrigan. An interesting thing as well, a lot of people, I don't know if a lot of people realise it, or maybe more people are realising it now, is that the whole idea of Halloween is actually an Irish tradition.
Mm-hmm.
It was taken from Ireland over to the States. And then obviously different people in different cultures, you know, they get married and, you know, mix their cultures together, and it becomes celebrated throughout. But but the tradition of it goes back to Ireland.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah. That's Jenny, yeah.
Yeah,
Got Jen on.
I thought I would have pronounced it pucker, but
Yes, it is correct. correct.
Jenny,
yeah.
I want to have a chat with you if it's all right. I want to get you on one of my shows in the Weird Room, if that's all right.
Yeah.
And chat about
We need to-
some of these Irish folkloric things, if that'd be all right.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep on track, you see, and we keep going down rabbit holes.
We don't know. Sorry, you keep, Brian, you're doing a marvellous job. You keep on, mate.
We've got the mythical creatures, which is your leprechaun said to grant wishes like a genie does.
My dad was adamant they were real. Adamant they were real.
Yeah.
Leprechauns?
Well, they are linked to the
Leprechaun.
fairy forts. Oh, look at that. They are linked to fairy forts, these your leprechauns.
Fairy
we've
forts
said
and
that
hills, yeah.
If you do find them, there will more than likely be a leprechaun knocking about somewhere. in
Yeah.
that vicinity.
You know, I mean, they're so ardent in Ireland with whitethorn and stuff like that and blackthorn and that, they won't cut through fairy forts, or they won't cut those plants up because they
Yeah.
believe that their garden's guarded by the fairy or the fae. So, I mean, a few years ago, not even that long ago, they built a whole road. I think it was about, I don't know, maybe 400 feet to go around this bush because it was a fairy bush and nobody dared cut it out. And it added literally millions to the project, but they weren't going to run the risk of going through this sacred ground, you know, which I think is brilliant, absolutely superb.
Yeah, it's
And
cool.
back in the day,
It's cool, isn't it?
back in the day, they wouldn't do that with fairy rings. They'd go around them.
Go around them, yeah. Farmers don't touch them either, do they, on their land?
Exactly. For a similar
Even
reason.
here in England, they won't touch them, will they?
No. This is one that's the surprising one. Dragons are part of Irish folklore.
Yeah.
Now, what's
Not
surprising
surprised. I
about
feel like that's another culture. It's everywhere. Everywhere's got.
Yeah.
The biggest surprise of that is that serpents never reached Ireland. They have got no snakes or reptiles of any kind. So to find dragons in their folklore suggests that they did come from somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And they depict fertility of the land and respect of guarding such lands. So that's their original use. And they were set on by another one. I'll come to it. It's not there at the moment. But they were set on by another race that colonized Ireland because there was a battle between two races of folklore. One prevailed, and then they disappeared into society and left dragons to protect the earth, protect the land, because it was fertile. So again, it's probably brought in as a prevention technique to keep people off the land. Without setting dogs on them.
I think. See, to me, I think that there could be some sort of semblance of sort of Bigfoot, that type of thing there, in the sense that were these dimensional hopping creatures? Were they relevant? Were they real? Were they seen? Did people experience them? Did people live amongst them? But then they could go through different dimensions at any particular juncture, so there's no evidence left, you know.
Well, considering that dragons have been seen recently, yeah, I'd say a different dimension or at least an alternate world.
Yeah. They were saying that a lot of these creatures now, it seems to be stepping up, doesn't it? That a lot of people are experiencing. I mean, even here, we're a tiny little island, really, compared to the States.
Yep.
When people say they've got Bigfoot in the States, go, well, of course they have. It's vast. It's a continent. It's just humongous. You couldn't even get your head around the size of it. We would fit into Wisconsin probably about twice. But the thing is, the fact that they're now being spotted over here and they're being spotted at night close to urban areas is quite strange. Oh, were you in it, Rob? Were you nearly in it? I was in Game of Thrones. Yeah, I was a fat little dwarf. But yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? It is interesting.
Yeah, but that's the one I've got it here. Look, Fir Dog, symbolising the birth of Ireland to a fertile land, from the dark servants to dragons. There you go.
Which come and gone, mate. But yeah, no, it's intriguing, isn't it? But it's like the whole fairy thing as well. I mean, there was a There was I remember reading it was a subject paper, and it was about sort of early 20th century, really. So you're looking at maybe 1905, 1906, and there was a family in Ireland, rural Ireland, and they had a daughter, and she was getting on at the time. She was not getting on, but she wasn't a child. She was probably about 18, 19, and she got ill, and I think it was probably mental illness. So she'd had a breakdown, but the family was so terrified that they swore that she was a changeling. So they thought that what happened was the Fayed came and replaced her with a replica and taken the real one away. And because obviously in Ireland at the time, especially in the countryside, very remote, people didn't know what was going on. But eventually what they did is they tied the girl to the bed upstairs. They fed her and watered her and stuff like that. But they would carry out all sorts of rituals and stuff on her to try and bring her around and try and swap what they believed to be a changeling back for the real girl, and they tried to see if they could do deals with the Fae and what have you. But in the end, what they did was they murdered her. They because they were so frightened of her, they killed her and set light to her on the bed. And you think she couldn't, and that was, I mean, that's sort of early 20th century, so it's not that long ago.
Yeah.
You know, and you think you can't get your head around anybody doing that.
You can if you look at the actual belief system that they've got.
Yeah.
I mean, when you consider that it speaks of two different nations, two different types of creature that are settling this land, and you've got humans in between, there's going to be crossbreeding, just like there was from mankind, from like Neanderthals to Homo sapien type thing.
Well, yeah.
There were at least 7 different strings, weren't there, in humanity in that respect at one point, and they all interbred when they overlapped, because we've constantly overpopulated an area. Well, if you consider that we was the dominant, not as in the ruling class, but we were dominant as in a species.
Yeah.
So these other two creatures, underlings or imps, were in a minority. They were still breeding. So maybe it were a throwback. Maybe it was a throwback with an entity of folklore. And that's why it looks so different. And it's going to happen.
Yeah,
it's going to happen.
And if you're brought up with that, and it's ardent that you're brought up with that as a form of belief, religious belief almost, then you're going to follow that tradition. Kelly asked who it was. I think it was Kelly asked. I'll tell you, it was tradition. It was not tradition, but it was from a family that's still rooted in ancient folklore and believed that was the way, that is the only way to save her.
Yeah. Exactly.
Horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. But yeah.
I mean, we have stories here in the States like that with exorcisms too, as well. I mean,
yes,
it's just people get so into a belief, a frame of mind that, you know, it's sadness is probably what she was, just probably felt distant and alone, and was probably colder to her family. And they're like, "There's no way her soul's gone."
Yeah,
you know,
and
kept feeding the flames, and
I mean, those exorcisms that they've done in the States, some of them are horrendous, aren't they? It's like almost it's torture, isn't it, on someone? You know, it's like, you know.
It's not.
But that's the important thing about mental health as well, isn't it? It needs to be. It's like when we go and do investigations and stuff. And I know that you shouldn't. People say, "Well, you know, these are personal things." I said, "Yeah, but you've got to get to the root of the problem." And I always used to ask people, more now, have you been seeking mental health treatment from anybody? Are you on any form of antidepressant? You know, because, you know, it's not. I'm not a psychiatrist. I don't want to do more damage to somebody than already got. You know.
Right.
Yeah, you've got to be sensitive to any given, and we're only human.
Catherine.
Is the statement. We are only human, and we get it wrong a lot of the time.
Yeah. Exactly.
Trial and error. And the last one, anyway, I'll get it out of the way, and then we can banter about all you want.
Go for it.
The AOC fairy folk of Celtic origin one of many types of fae. These fae come from the Tuatha De
Oh, the
Danann,
Tuatha De Danann.
Yeah.
Yeah.
of dark origin, transformed. See, it's all relevant. Transformed into mischievous elves and imps and the like. So, if that sort of belief is the origins of Ireland, then it's going to resurface because people
Yeah.
tell these stories.
I
They
mean,
tell stories in
All the
taverns
time,
and
Kelly.
everything.
if you bring them up, you got to bring up High Israel or what was that? High Brazil.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, that rings a bell.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
See,
That's
the-
close to Ireland too, isn't it?
Yeah,
Where that was
yeah.
supposed to do.
Yeah. It's an interesting subject. I mean, I wonder how many people are still. I guess some of these ancient cultures are still entrenched in that. People like down, I don't know, tribes in the Amazon and stuff like that. I guess they still probably getting. What was that? Getting what?
It's a secret. I'm not telling you. But I'm happy to talk about it.
It's interesting stuff, Kelly. It really is.
Yeah, I do my research, as everyone knows. Whenever
He
I
does
do
his research, does
Look
Brian.
up on Google.
I do my research. Not a lot, but enough to get through a show.
Done well. You've done well. In fact, it shows up how much research the rest of us don't do.
Lazy buggers.
Yeah, I watched Leprechaun before we went on.
You lot know SWATs. But
So,
yeah,
yeah,
it's
that's-
interesting. Is there anything else about the Tuatha De Danann?
No, just that they were the original dark entities that
Yeah.
inhabited the land and transformed it into a green and fertile land.
Yeah, they're
And
said to be
then
the
they-
origin of the modern Irish, aren't they? Apparently,
Yes,
they're the
yeah,
genetics
and they
of the modern Irish.
battled. They battled with, I can't remember.
He does indeed, Catherine.
Yes, they were the ones that battled with another race, and modern humans were born. And they left certain folklore people, like the leprechauns and elves and imps and dragons, and one or two others, as a reminder of where they came from. Basically, that's the
Yeah.
story in Celtic lore.
Yeah,
So, and I mean lore as in Lore.
Lore. Yeah. It's intriguing, isn't it? It's interesting.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
interesting.
definitely. I've been learning a hell of a lot since I started doing these podcasts, because it wasn't my forte. I just wanted to be out.
But it gives you a
investigating.
reason to research, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's surprising the connections that all these different folklores have got around the world. As I say, last week I did the Jinn, which is
It's interesting.
the
That the Jinn are
Eastern
interesting.
version. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just the Eastern version of
That is
what
the
we
one
have in paranormal.
They're the one
So-
that terrify the crap out of me.
Yeah,
Of all the
But they
entities, they're the
shouldn't.
ones that terrify the crap out of me.
but they shouldn't, because in essence, they are good people. They are good entities. They are there to look after you, as in the Western version is shapeshifters
Yeah,
and familiars. Well,
Yeah.
the familiars of the Jinn are reptilian. The familiars of Europe are other entities like cats and dogs and things like that. So, but the similarities are there. What they actually serve is the same thing. The servants of humans again.
see, that's the thing. The thing that it amazes me with shapeshifters and skinwalkers is that the reluctance that a lot of the Native American people have got to even mention it.
Yeah.
And they said the worst thing you can do is walk into a reservation where there's been activity or whatever, and try and talk about skinwalkers, because they will shut you down pretty quick.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, because I can't blame them. You know? But that's what amazes me: the fact that these people will not even reluctant; they just won't talk about it flat out.
Yeah.
And you think, you know, it'd be nice to learn about their culture and their history, and because clearly there's connections there, isn't there? These people and
Absolutely.
these creatures, you know. As long as the
it
human
makes
race has
me
been there,
wonder-
these things have been beside them.
It makes me wonder that because of the what happened in America, being colonized by non-native humans, shall we say, if the story wouldn't have been different, if they hadn't have got their own nation and they hadn't have evolved on their own path. For example, the thing that's got a really big similarity for me, as I've been looking at things again, like I said, Japan
Yeah, it's interesting. Japan.
has a very similar historic.
Yes, skinny.
base.
You're right, Catherine. Skinny boys.
Yeah. But they celebrate it and they're very open about it, and they've got actual names for entities and spirits. Unlike the North American, the American Indians have, but they keep it very close book,
Yeah.
which is surprising. I'm trying my damnedest to find somebody that'll talk about it.
I
I'm-
think
I'm
you'll probably
struggling.
find that a lot of the Native American peoples know a hell of a lot more than they're letting up, which I can't, it's fair enough. They know
They
a
do.
lot more than we even begin to scratch the surface at.
Yeah,
Because these people have lived alongside these creatures for like forever, haven't they?
yeah,
Close.
You
like,
gotta
yeah.
go to them. And, like, that's the trick. I mean, it's harder because you're, across the
Yeah.
pond. But, I mean, there's like rendezvous. There's all sorts of events like the local natives have that you can go to and learn about their culture. I mean,
See, that's
we used to go to
interesting.
rendezvous. My grandfather was part native. I mean, I guess classifies me as, but like, so I grew up going to like rendezvous, and I grew up hearing these stories as a child, also going to church. So I had a cool upbringing.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, there's a
That's cool.
lot of references to aliens and shapeshifters and just spirits. I mean, the trickster spirits seem so much like the fairy folk.
Yeah.
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 You're my man, Josh. I need to talk to you because, like I said, the thing is that what I'm trying to get at is I want what's the word? An authentic view and opinion from that native side of things. Yes, they're starting to open up. Yes, they're starting to talk, but it's always the Western side of things, the Bigfoots, the shapeshifters, and one thing or other. Things that are all
Well, there's certain things they're just taught not to talk about. I mean, there's
Yeah.
certain things that don't even have names because they're
Yeah.
so bad. There's a lot of that. There's so many things that literally aren't named because they're so bad they don't deserve a name.
Yeah, but they do have a name. Actually, they do have a name. I'm finding this out slowly but surely. But the people won't talk about it. The natives won't talk about it. When you hear about it, it's an account from a Western point of view. You know what I'm saying? An American, but that's not of native blood. You will get these opinions. They're just not, for me, authentic enough. I'm wanting to delve. I'm being nosy.
Yeah, that makes sense, Catherine. That
Yeah.
makes sense. And that's fair enough. If it's tribal information, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
To be honest,
But-
if they're not willing to tell you about it because it's too, like, you're probably better off not knowing.
Yeah.
Speak at the UK Cryptic Conference, it might be. Oh, that might be Nico, yes. Yeah,
I
Viv's got
know.
a friend, a Native American lady, and she was going to get her on the show. I don't know what happened, but things fell by the way for whatever reason. But hopefully,
There's a problem.
Viv
They always
Viv
do.
can get that lady on.
Yeah. Get her on.
Get her on. So that'd be interesting. We've been trying to
Give me
get
a-
people, like Native Americans, on to give us an insight
I've
into their
got
culture
someone-
and history, which would be it's interesting.
Yeah, I've just started talking to a lady that she's Native American, and she says words in her native dialect and whatever. I still don't know what they mean. Like what? I mean, you might know, Josh. What does Tansi mean?
Say that again?
Tansi,
Hansa?
yeah.
What tribe is she?
I don't know. This is the thing. I'm still trying to find.
Yeah.
They've got
That's
their own
right.
languages, haven't they?
They're all there. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it's some sort of
Not that
Greek.
kind of Robert,
Rob.
Not that
What
kind
type
of
of Indian?
It's obviously greeting because that's the first thing that she says. So,
Yeah. If you that's the thing. If your culture's been around it forever, then you're gonna know the best way to deal with these things, aren't you? So
yeah.
there's always a dedicated or somebody there that's gonna be taking up the slack for them.
And I found out recently they have specific people that deal with that kind of stuff on the reservation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I actually covered that when I did my Dogman episode. the guy who had his issue with Dogman actually was visited by somebody on the tribe who talked to him and was like, "Hey, I never met you before." And he's like, "Yeah, you're never going to again." So,
Oh, really?
I mean, yeah.
Did they stop it for him? Did they stop his problem? Or?
Yeah. Apparently they hunt these things. They're almost like a shaman,
Wow.
referred to, but a little more badass.
See, that takes
Yeah,
some
but-
bottle, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That takes some guts.
Wow.
This person is a liaison of sorts, so works with reservations. So I may find things out, but she's already told me there's things she can't talk about. She's happy to talk about the usual, as I've said, Bigfoot and one or two other things, and aliens and what have you. But it's not really what I want to know. I'm nosy.
Didn't they refer? Didn't some Native American tribes, or maybe I don't know, didn't they refer to them as star people?
Yes.
Yeah. The Moon-Eyed Children too, were some of them.
Moon-eyed, that's it. Yeah, Moon-eyed children. Yeah.
Wow.
That's interesting. Another thing I found interesting about them as well. I mean, I've known it for a long while, but they used to call the trees, a lot of the Native American tribes used to call trees standing brothers because they believed they were sentient intelligent things.
I was gonna bring that up. With that Dogman episode I had, the tree started dancing around his Jeep. Like
It's
like never before. Like
it's mental. I've been watching. I know they're old things. It was come up on YouTube actually, and it was about. I was just going at the sentience of trees, and there was a thing about people, and it became a TikTok thing that people would go to a tree, and they would say to the tree, "If you can acknowledge me, if you show me some form of intelligence, can you touch me on the left arm or the right arm?" And the bloody no breeze or anything, but branches you would see come in and gently touch them, and then move away again. Now, we know they're intelligent. We know that they're... But it makes more sense now why the Native Americans call them standing brothers.
Yeah.
Or standing people.
You want to get it even crazier about it. Psychedelics are starting to become legalized over here across the states. There are people doing researches in the forest communicating what they're called the electric elves. And it's only when people are
DMT,
around trees while they're tripping.
Yeah,
they come across these things called the electric elves.
Yeah. I've seen
So
Joe Rogan does
there's
a lot
something
of it,
to that.
Joe Rogan drops a lot of that DMT, and he's
Yeah,
always found these electric elves and stuff.
Yeah.
It's interesting. But yeah, people experience nature. A friend of mine used to do DMT years ago, and he swore blind that what he was experiencing under DMT was more of a reality than what this one is.
Yeah.
He said because you can taste, smell, touch. It's like you're looking at everything at once. It was just like he could blew his mind.
Yeah,
literally.
The more research you do, the more you find out. And the latest, through doing that, my last show on the gin, was there is a popular belief now that there's a connection to them and aliens and UFOs.
Wouldn't surprise me.
It all bleeds together.
Yeah,
it all
I think
bleeds
it's
together.
all connected to some. Yeah, it's like I used to say to somebody, said to somebody before, and they agreed with me. Which I mean, it was. I said, I think that there's one giant energy source that's got everything on like puppet strings, and so everything that we experience, like these paranormal things, you can trace them back to one hand. There's one entity behind it, or that's juggling it. But
Well,
call it what you will, God, or
it would explain things like ley lines and everything else.
It would
between pyramids, which are popping up around the world. So
yeah,
we're still finding
Catherine,
things
I agree.
out. We are still finding things out, and I keep watching, and I'll keep watching. Whenever I've got a breath in my body, I'll connect things together. And then that research that's all written down, all these bits and notes, they'll be there for somebody to string them all together.
Well, it came out in the paper the other day. It came out in the newspaper the other day that these are like your nationals. It came out that doctors have disclosed now that they do believe that there is a dimension after death. In fact, they're staking themselves on it.
Well, death is only the beginning.
They've researched it all, and they said that it just can't be coincidences.
If you break down the science of it, we're made up of energy, and you can't.
It doesn't
Yeah.
separate, does it?
You are not your
Exactly,
body, your
exactly.
energy. Your brain function is energy. It's your
Yeah.
thought process is energy. Everything is energy and vibration.
Yeah, energy,
And
exactly.
if you take it that step further, it's vibrations, which is
You're probably right, Catherine.
frequencies. Me and
Yeah.
Ian's got this belief in frequencies, and if we can
Big
link
time.
frequencies together, we would be able to communicate with these other entities and dimensions a lot easier.
It's
just
all
finding
frequent.
that
You're right.
frequency.
It's
Yeah.
all frequencies.
mean-
I agree completely.
We won't get too deep into it, but I'll say there's also people right now at this very time abusing frequencies, and that's something
course.
that's currently happening right now.
Yep.
Just follow that
But
rabbit hole.
Would that be
Yeah.
CERN or CERN? Would that be?
Harp, yeah.
And would that be
Well, it's
sort
really-
of British and American governments by any chance?
Yeah. And the use of it.
All you have to do is follow the money.
Yeah, it's always the money. Always the money.
Something similar to what we're using now. I mean, I'm on 4G. Does that give you a clue?
Well, yeah.
So-
Sometimes America disperses a little bit of freedom to itself. It's just,
Yeah.
like I said, wow.
See, I moan
No,
about that, but to be honest, if I had the opportunity, I'd use that freedom for myself as well.
Well, somebody said again, the second person that said last Wednesday, the guy that we had on did a reading for me, and he said that's what I'm here for. Is I keep coming back because I just want to see what happens.
Yes.
Yeah.
You had a good reading, didn't you?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He's good, isn't he? He's lovely.
Yeah, I love
Oh,
him.
Learning with a
Dan,
fraction.
while we're on it, because I'll forget.
Yeah.
I'll forget definitely because mine's all over the place. Proper eccentric.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
I need to know and get a contact for AD. AAD.
Oh yeah. I
Yes,
know.
he's been injured, bless him, hasn't he?
Oh, is he? Right.
Yeah, he came off his
Yeah.
bike on the Holland. They're all bikes over there, aren't they? But he smashed his hip, bless him. So he's been laid up in hospital. I think he's I don't know if he's out now or not, but yeah, he's in hospital, bless him. So
Is he a blood runner?
on the mend. Sorry, bud.
I'll send him
The guy you're referring to, does he happen to be a guy got in a bike accident? Oh,
Yeah.
somebody showed me on yesterday.
Yeah, that might be had. That might be had. Yeah, that
Yeah.
might be had.
Yeah.
Oh, best of luck. He got rear-ended, right?
It might. Yes,
On a
it might
bike.
well have been that. Yes. Yes, I think it was. He's a sweetheart of a man. He's absolutely lovely fella.
Yeah. He's the only guy that's ever read me.
Oh, Ad is from Holland.
He's
Yeah.
a Dutch chap. Yeah, he's lovely. He's
the
a really
only
good
that's
guy.
ever read me. The only person that's ever read me, just like that. Just like that, he got me spot on.
He's good. He is good.
Never
He's
spoken
got
to
me
him,
spot
I've
on,
never
too.
seen him. He was absolutely amazing. So I need to
Mm.
get in touch with him. But yeah.
I don't know if you guys are or not, but William Becker, you should definitely. He has been spot on with me. He knew
Oh, yeah,
relatives' names, first names. Like that. We're
William's
going
a- William's a
generations
sweetheart.
before Facebook or any. You wouldn't have been able to do any research.
And
He's,
William's a lovely, lovely fellow, William. I love
Yes, he
William.
is. Because he worked with me on figuring out who my first spirit guide was.
Yeah, he's a very kind-hearted chap, is William. Lovely, lovely man.
Yeah, you've actually got a connection in this country as well, Josh, haven't you? So that not a lot of people know about. It is spiritual, but there is a connection over here. But we'll not talk about that on camera either.
All right. Yeah, now I'm curious.
Did you
Yeah,
get that
So do I
right?
apparently too. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Was that
Things
Kelly that
happen
put
for
that
a
message up?
reason.
Eric, sorry.
What now?
Brian. Did Kelly put a message up for Brian?
Oh, here.
Who was it, Brian? Can he send his info? Has never had anyone read. So she wants to add his info.
Ad.
Yeah. Lad.
I can't pronounce
We'll
his
have him
surname,
on
I'll
eventually. I know
butcher
that
it.
for sure.
But he's got a cool surname, Bujas or something. I can't remember.
I
But he's got a
can't
good surname, cool surname. But I'll dare,
Exactly. I just name us.
I don't want to butcher it.
Well,
It's
since
brilliant.
it's 5 minutes to the end, anything, what's coming up this rest of this week?
Well, tomorrow night we're on with young Vivian, and we've got we got somebody on tomorrow night, Eric, haven't we?
Yeah, I don't, but I don't remember.
No, you're like me. Yeah, we've got someone on tomorrow night, but I can't think. But anyway, we'll be on tomorrow night talking about stuff as usual. Then Thursday night, you got me and Eric and young Tim. We're doing the Weird Room, and we're doing house elves and fairies this week.
Cool.
Farm and house dwelling fairies, which should be quite interesting. And then on Friday, we've got Freaky Friday with young Bry, and we've got young Nettie, and we've got young Ian. That's a great one. I love listen back to it a lot. If I can't listen to it live, but it's good.
The
Go on,
subject
Brian.
this week, because we try to mix it up, as you know, we try to do things that people haven't done before. It's going to take some research this week, because this week it is, does donor limbs and extremities and like heart transplants, that's the word, transplants, do they have a memory?
That's interesting.
Very.
That's a really interesting subject.
Yeah.
So that'll be a good one.
Yeah.
That'll be good.
Yeah.
That'll be good.
We'll feature a few
Yeah, we'll
cases where people have
And you know,
experienced-
Brian's not like the rest of us. Brian have done his research, so
The gals from
so
the gals from
topics
Spooky
there.
Japan, when I had them on, filled me in about a bunch of information about that. So we could.
Oh, Japan, that's another place I'd love to go. God, I'd love to go to Japan. So that's, and then Saturday we got young William Becker on, who's doing metaphysical insights. I think that's it this Saturday? It is this Saturday, isn't it? I think.
Yeah. We haven't got a show.
Every Saturday.
No, it's only first and third Saturday that he's on.
So young William, he does some really interesting stuff to William. And like I said before, he's a really lovely guy. And then on Sunday, we've got Nettie back. Are you on Sunday, Brian?
We haven't got one on Sunday. We haven't got a subject this week. We'll be back next week.
Fair enough. So not
Unless-
this Sunday. Go on.
Unless we just may put a show on. I haven't been practicing tarot very much of late because I haven't been able to get out because my car's broke. But I usually do house parties, tarot readings. So I just may, to keep me handy, and I may do some
That'd be interesting.
reading. Yeah, I may do some
Sort of
one-card
live reading.
And somebody
Yeah,
give me the information what's arcane and not arcane, because I cannot separate my deck without knowing.
Oh, Eric, you've been studying it, haven't you, recently?
Well, I'm not studying it, but I got my first deck and I still haven't figured out how to use it right. So,
Right. I would talk to Nettie. She's more experienced in different decks than to me. I've got
Okay.
one deck. I've always used that one deck called the answer deck. I don't mess about with any others because I've found that, in 12 years, I've had a handful of mistaken readings, just a handful, which for me is phenomenal. And the only reason I got those bad readings was because the person I was reading for had another reading the same day with someone else. And it confuses the deck. And so I always ask now, have you had a reading recently so that I know what I'm playing with?
yeah.
Because
That's
I
fair
won't
enough.
read them otherwise. I won't
That's
read
fair
them.
enough. So
Yeah.
hopefully you might be doing,
Anything-
if you feel that you might be doing a bit of that on Sunday, that's good. And
Yeah.
then the Dark Mirror Boys are back on Monday. You back on Monday, Josh?
Yeah, I'm back on Monday. Every Monday.
Excellent.
Friday night, I have an interview with Laura Eisenhower, former granddaughter of former President Eisenhower.
Oh, really?
So I'm
Oh,
excited
that's
about
cool.
that. But she's kind of near the area of the hurricane, so we'll see if it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is she really his granddaughter? She really his
Yeah.
granddaughter? That is cool. That is very
Yeah,
cool.
she's also an experiencer too, and heavily involved with the UFO community. Which
That's
her grandfather was the one that apparently you talked to the Zetas.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember reading an article on him. He got off of I think it was Air Force One or something. He got off of one day and he walked down the thing into a ship or craft, stayed in there for a couple of hours, and come back out and got back on the plane. He was doing.
Mhm.
He was having meetings with them and all that sort of stuff, wasn't he?
Yeah, that and the Venetians that's they're talking about, and there's apparently pictures of the guy too, and he looks like a ginormous Nordic dude.
Really?
Valiant Thor. Yeah, look up the
Did you
pictures.
know her
of Valiant
granddad?
Thor. Yeah, it's got stories about
That's
Grandpa.
cool as
Yeah,
hell,
well.
isn't it?
Yeah.
That's really
Was-
cool.
was it- I'm not up on that subject, but was he the one that spoke about Foo Fighters and what have you?
I don't know.
A
He was the-
little bit. He was the one that apparently met with extraterrestrials.
He was the one that was. He was all over it, wasn't he? He was the one that was in
Yeah.
the hospital.
Yeah.
They can trace all that stuff back to him. Apparently, a lot.
He's
Of
the one
it.
that started the Blue Brook projects.
Yeah.
Maybe.
interesting.
Maybe.
Was
I
that
mean, I don't
Friday,
know.
Josh? Sorry, Bright. Sorry.
What? Yeah. What time on Friday?
It will be 8 o'clock my time, so 2 a.m. your guys' time.
That's all right.
Right.
I'm gonna listen to that. I'll be up then.
Yeah, I just didn't want to clash with our show that we're on.
Catherine.
She does the haunted houses on. Oh
She
yeah.
does haunted houses. Yes. Yes, that'll be interesting.
Right.
So
And
that's
with
us done, guys. Sorry, Eric. What you saying? Sorry, you
Well, I was
saying
just saying, with all that, it's time for us to go.
it is. So I bid
It's
you all
fun.
farewell. Speak to you soon, guys. Take it easy. We'll
Good
be
night,
Eric will be back
everybody.
tomorrow with young Vivian and a guest, whoever it is. We don't know.
Uh,
But we'll be back. See you later.